And then it's like, well, it is happening, but it's a good thing, actually. Bro, it is classic leftoid bullshit, man. They're liars and scumbags, and they'll lie to your face, and they'll lie and lie and lie. Creatives used to have some fucking spine and some backbone with this stuff. Another comedian, a comedian I quite like, has come out with the same take. Comedy is being policed by the left with sensitivities that seem out of proportion to the joke, says Office co-writer Stephen Merchant. I mean, is he wrong? The culture war bullshit is kind of cringe. I mean, I don't understand what you mean by that. I mean, like, it is just true. I mean, I appreciate that some people try and spin stuff to a culture war analysis. But yeah, I think this is like an observation that's been made by other comedians as well. And I actually went ahead and had a look because I always hear, what about Always Sunny in Philadelphia? But yeah, they've taken away 5 episodes. They've stopped the streaming of 5 episodes, apparently, of There's Always Sunny. And if you read this, it's like, yeah, that is exactly what happened. So to do a controversy surrounding blackface and brownface. The show's intentionally offensive and satirical nature pushes the boundaries of humour, sometimes crossing the line into offensive territory. While the show faces backlash for its controversial content, it has managed to avoid being cancelled by evolving and by evolving. What does that mean exactly? I've not watched, still haven't watched it yet. But from what I understand, it isn't as edgy or whatever as it used to be. Is that right? Yeah, I hear the later seasons fell off, something which I can't speak to exactly, but... And balancing profound themes of humour. Other comedy series like South Park and Community have also faced episode removals due to offensive content. And yeah, it's really fucking annoying because this is like a classic example of it's not happening, but if it is happening, it's a good thing. So someone will point out, oh yeah, comedy's getting shitter because of perceived, insults and stuff, and because of perceived offense. So stuff's getting taken down. I mean, this kind of sums it up perfectly, really. This complaint will forever be null and void when you have shows like It's Always Sunny on the air. How many episodes have been removed from circulation by the show's crew now? I've lost track.
Welcome to Chud Nation.
And then it's like, well, it is happening, but it's a good thing, actually. Bro, it is fucking classic leftoid bullshit, man. You can count them on one hand. The guys on Sunny know to move with the times instead of being a whiny bitch about it. Clear now. Just the most classic example of it's not happening, but if it is happening, it's a good thing. Palestine flag says it all. Yeah, exactly. Or it's like they downplay it. Oh, it's only 5 episodes. It's only a small amount of episodes. Well, yeah, well then that backs up the idea, doesn't it, that yes, there is a problem with this kind of censorship because of sensibilities getting offended. Also, yeah, I don't think it's the show's crew. I think it was a decision made by the streaming platforms. But it's the classic thing that you see again and again and again, Always Sunny, Always Sunny, Always Sunny,
Welcome
Always
to
Sunny.
Chud Nation.
TV channels, yeah. Well, that's what I think is the compromise, which everyone can be happy with, surely, is if you really want to put a warning up and say, this has got offensive themes, I don't really care about that. Just leave the content as it is. Don't change it, manipulate it, don't remove stuff. Yeah, they cut one joke, it's not that bad. They cut one scene, it's not that bad. So they cut a few scenes. What does it matter? Oh, they cut 1 episode from the streaming platform. Oh, they cut 2 episodes. Oh, they cut 5 episodes from the service. What's your problem? There's loads of other ones that you can watch. It's like, at what point do you start to say, okay, this is kind of fucked up, and maybe we shouldn't be trying to sanitize, shows to placate a modern audience, which is exactly what is happening with this, right? Netflix removed the blackface scene from Peep Show. Really? That's a fucking classic. Also, the other thing as well is like all of these blackface scenes in Peep Show, in these kind of comedy shows, the joke is never, oh, haha, I'm doing blackface, right? The joke, from what I mean, I've not watched this one, but normally when you see it, the joke comes from the idea of how absurd it is that someone is doing something as explicitly offensive as blackface. Like, the whole point of the joke is this person's retarded for doing blackface because of how offensive it is, right? It's never just like, oh yeah, we're doing blackface, guys. We're doing a minstrel show, actually. Yeah, they're supposed to be horrible assholes, exactly. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just so wild to me that people will sit there with a straight face and claim that this isn't an issue. Meanwhile, they're stripping out episodes from shows, and it's like it just gets defended and they're liars. They're liars. They're just fucking liars. Wonderful. That's it. They are fucking liars.
The re-release of Tom and Jerry had a foreword by Whoopi Goldberg explaining the racist stuff and why it was left in.
You're tired of hearing about blackface? Well, put the blackface back now.
Hey, Doc, if you done before me, you can play with my boobies while I finish.
I died, turkey.
What the hell? Dude, that's pretty insane for Scrubs. What the fuck, bro? It was, you know, back then, it was just a thing. It was a comedy technique that people used. Often playing, I mean, obviously that's a bit more, you know, just, it's absurdist. It's absurdist comedy, you know? But normally the idea is you're mocking the idea that someone is doing it. Real cinema. Which one do I like better? Yes, I've seen Guest House Paradiso. And I've seen the series, which is loosely based, well, loosely kind of comes from, which is Bottom. Bottom's good. Bottom's funny. God, I used to watch that when I was a kid, man. It was so funny. When the fucking gas man comes around to, like, they accidentally murder him. Yeah, classic. And the other thing I think as well is, like, some of this stuff, and I think Seinfeld spoke about this, but I couldn't find the clip the other day. But there's stuff that's been grandfathered in. So you've got, like, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Always Sunny, which apparently has gone down a bit. I don't know. I can't speak to that. But some of these shows have been around for a while. South Park is probably another example, right? Where they've got a kind of pre-existing base. So it's like, you know, and they've got bold writers who, well, with South Park, for example, you know, bold writers who aren't willing to kind of back down and stuff, and they'll just continue to make the same kind of content. But that's because they've already been making the content, you know.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Thank you for the bits. As a lefty, this shit annoys me so much. Offensive is so subjective that erasing stuff for being offensive verges dangerously close to thought policing and right think. Well, you know, it has switched. It used to be that the rightoids were the kind of like censorious prudes with this stuff. But now it is more so the modern left, I think, that tends to take a more censorious perspective and tone. What the hell?
Decapitated. Okay, that's Brutaltops is dead.
How do I make money?
Till Taliban became a member.
And you're saying they cut this scene out? Dude, it's so... wasn't this Actor in the New Rings of Power? They pulled the episode. These leftoids are just liars. They're fucking liars and scumbags, and they'll lie to your face, and they'll lie and lie and lie. And then when you call them out and you say, you're lying, you're not correct, actually, you're totally wrong, and they have pulled stuff, they go, so what? What's the big deal? It is fucking infuriating. It's not happening. Oh, but it is happening, and here's proof. Well, it's a good thing. They're moving with the times, okay? Blackface is bad. Fucking hell, man. Crazy. Just put a fucking warning in front of the episode if you're really that bothered. A skippable warning. So that people don't have to fucking read the bullshit if they don't want to, you know? Well, who cares? Yeah, because these actors are not retards, and they get it, and they understand that, like, as part of, you know, part of comedy is that anything goes. Nothing is off limits. Nothing is off limits when it comes to comedy. Nothing should be off limits. But yeah, I just find it very infuriating that people just lie. They just straight up fucking lie about it. But yeah, I concur. I concur with Stephen Merchant. I agree. I mean, do you remember this? I've seen it happen with my own fucking eyes, right? I have seen it happen, right? Where comedians get scrutinized for a gag now. Jimmy Carr can tell an edgy gag about the Holocaust and about, what was it? The Jehovah's Witnesses going to knock on the fucking Auschwitz. And they're like, oh, come and have a shower, you know, that thing. And they've got to spend like a week contending with like justifications for it, because it's not people saying your joke sucks. It's people saying you hate minorities. You told a joke, therefore you hate minorities now. They think that because you're telling a joke, you believe the thing that you're saying, even though the whole point of telling a joke in the context of being a stand-up bucket comedian is you're not saying things that you believe necessarily. You're saying comedic things that are funny. And the whole point of the bit was, you know, jokes that can end your career.
This is a long journey for the witnesses. If you come in, you freshen up, take a shower.
So the thing is like people will say, oh, but he's making the joke though, isn't it? Yeah, he made the joke, but then had to be subjected. I mean, he probably ignored it, to be fair. But then there was like a whole week of discourse talking about how Jimmy Carr hates gypsies because he made a joke, like he made that joke basically. And I think it has like a chilling effect. And I think that, you know, people have this kind of desire to avoid this kind of controversy. So they end up softening their act and softening their jokes and stuff. I think it does have an impact, you know? Here's an example that I think's quite a good one. Trans jokes, right? Trans jokes. There are some comedians, like for example, what's the Scottish guy called? Frankie Boyle. So Frankie Boyle is, you know, built his career up as like an edgy comedian, but like refuses to ever make any jokes about trans stuff whatsoever, right? And then what happens if you do make a trans joke? What happens if you Dave Chappelle? Again, you've got to be subjected to not only fucking, you know, discussions acting like you're fucking transphobe or whatever, but also didn't like they do a protest at Netflix? Wait a second, hang on a sec. Didn't they do a fucking protest at Netflix because Dave Chappelle told a fucking couple of jokes about trans people? And they're trying to act like when a comedian is like, yeah, it kind of sucks. The left kind of stifles comedic kind of aspects because... And like they fucking protested Dave Chappelle because he told a couple of jokes about trans people. And they're trying to act like it's not a thing. Well, the thing is with the George Carlin aspect is like people like hyper focus on this one part where he was talking about the concept of punching up and stuff like that, right? Which is fine. But then they don't play the clip of him just saying slurs, do they? They don't play that clip. Like all these comedians, I've gone off George Carlin, okay? I think George Carlin is annoying. I find him annoying. I find the fact that he kind of pivoted away from this kind of edgelord perspective to do the punching down shit was kind of cringe. Frankie Ball was one of the worst for it. Someone who, you know, has told insane jokes about disabled children, only to turn around and act like telling a trans joke is a terrible thing that you shouldn't do. So yeah, they're liars. They're liars. They will simultaneously tell you it's not happening while supporting stuff like this.
Well, around 100 people have protested outside Netflix headquarters in California over the broadcast of a comedy special by Dave Chappelle, which they say is transphobic. Our North America correspondent Dave.
So yeah, there's loads of ads are loading, so I'm not going to show it on the screen, but this is what the article says. Comedy is being policed by the left with sensitivities that seem out of proportion to the joke, says Office co-writer Stephen Merchant. Comedian Stephen Merchant has said he feels like the left is policing comedy with sensitivities that seem out of proportion to the joke. Keep that in mind when we watch this.
Trans lives matter. The comedian's declaration that gender is a fact and
comedy is being policed by the left with sensitivities that seem out of proportion to the joke. I present to you this thing here. It's fucking...
prompted a walkout by staff and support from transgender.
And bear in mind as well, Dave Chappelle and Jimmy Carr and others are big comedians, okay? So they're big comedians and they can withstand the level of controversy that other comedians can't. See, people always think about the big comedians, but you've got to think about the smaller comedians, the big comedians of tomorrow. What's happening with them? What are they doing? Do they want to risk this sort of shit happening at a fucking local place that they're performing at? Do they want to risk offending the sensibilities of a group that are willing to mobilize over jokes? Probably not. No, probably not. So it's like, it's this chilling effect that people don't seem to want to fucking recognize. And that's why it's so good that someone like Stephen Merchant is willing to call it out, because, you know, a lot of people aren't. And, you know, Stephen Merchant is now getting a bunch of shit for pointing out the obvious and the true, which is that, yes, people overreact massively to jokes and it has a stifling effect.
Rights advocates, some of whom accused Netflix of profiting from hate speech.
We need to say it's not okay. This hate conversation was not their intention.
Where's the comedy here? How could you possibly laugh at this, hey? What is funny about this?
And we understand that jokes are jokes, things are things, but at the end of the day, if it's promoting hate and it's promoting discrimination, you are directly a cause of it if you're allowing it to happen and you're not doing anything about it. And that goes for anyone in this country, specifically people of power in the entertainment.
The difference is that it used to feel like it was the right that was policing it. It feels like the left, it's the left that's doing it now, and it's allowed the right to become the arbiters of free speech, which does feel like quite a significant shift. So, basically...
Okay, that's wonderful.
Okay.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
That's what Stephen Merchant said. Thank you for the $5. Appreciate it. Indeed. The right used to invoke state power in order to suppress and censor things. One example being Lenny Bruce, right? Lenny Bruce was the subject of censorship over obscenity claims, right? So there's something very clear and obvious that you can point to there, okay? And it's like, well, look at this invocation of state power to suppress what should be free speech, even in America. That's crazy, right? And that's something you can rally about and get behind, yeah? But the left's kind of censorship is gay, because there isn't the same sort of like invocation of state power in the same way. It's more so like, well, you can make your jokes if you want, but if you do, maybe we'll come out. Maybe we'll come out and have a little fucking protest, you know? Maybe the fucking platform that you're going to be running your thing on is going to have a bit of pressure on it. You know, it's like this soft power and this soft pressure that's utilized, including the invocation of, you know, the utilization of like big tech platform TOS to impact stuff as well. It's like a sort of a more subtle, it's like a more subtle effort. It's like a more subtle censorship effort. So, you know, whereas the right would say, okay, yes, we are going to censor this person, but it's because it's obscene. And then you've got something to tangle with, something to argue with, and something to engage with, right? With the fucking lefties, there's this plausible deniability that exists where stuff like this can happen, right? Protests like this can happen. At Netflix, bear in mind, which then puts kind of this pressure on Netflix to acquiesce to woke sensibilities going forward too. But then they can act like it's not a thing and lie about it. Well, that's not the left, is it? Come on, what do you mean it's not all the left is like that? Anyway, what are you complaining about? Only 5 episodes of the show got censored off the fucking program. God, it's just so insufferable. God, like this... I fucking hate it. I fucking despise it. I despise it.
Having initially defended Dave Chappelle and the show's popularity, the streaming behemoth has since softened its stance in the face of a swathe of public criticism.
Creatives used to have some fucking spine and some backbone with this stuff, you know? Record labels would fucking push back on the satanic panic shit, right? Comedy clubs would push back on the right-wing calls for censorship. The movie industry would fucking go up against these right-wing censors and shit like that. But now there's this like softly catchy monkey type approach where they kind of go, oh, we're very sorry for that. No, you need someone to stand them and go, they're jokes, fucking losers. Shut up and suck it down. Don't watch it if you don't like it. Simple.
Can't get over the leftists pulling the it's a private company, it can do
what it
wants. Somehow this doesn't extend to Shell or Raytheon.
The libertarian argument. Yeah, classic. I mean, obviously, private companies can't do what they want. Like there are regulations that exist, and lefties normally would support reasonable government regulation. But in circumstances where it suits them, all of a sudden they become fucking libertarians. But I mean, yeah, it just seems so obvious to me that this is an issue, and there's been multiple examples of lefties taking action against some of these companies, and against for the kind of goal of censorship and stuff like that. It's like hide the hand shit, They chuck rocks and then they hide their hands and go, "What are you talking about?" No, you do. You absolutely do. 100%. Anyway, speaking of comedy, let's get through the rest of this and we'll get into it. Speaking of comedy.
Skibbity Biden.
Skibbity Biden. Skibbity, skibbity Biden. Skibbity Biden. Joe, Joe, Joe. Skibbity, skibbity Biden. Hitler's language. Trump, Trump. Trump is using Hitler's language. Hitler's language. Trump is using Hitler's language. Skibbity, skibbity.
Skibbity Biden.
It's over, guys. It's never been more over. Why is late night comedy dying? True. Okay. Let's do one more thing, actually, and then we'll get into it. Do you see this? A biopic about George Floyd is in the works. Okay. George Floyd was like a drug addict loser. I know it's bad to speak ill of the dead, and I do believe that he was, tragic in that. But like, what is there to tell about his life exactly? Like, he was like a total fuck up, wasn't he? And that's not to say he deserved what happened to him. It's just to say, I mean, yeah, bad people or like people that aren't heroes or whatever get killed by the police. And that's it. I mean, I don't know why it needs to be this. This is going to be the pinnacle of Floydism. Isn't it? Is that true? I don't know. Is that the baby thing? He robbed a pregnant woman. I thought he... Oh, was that another time? Because he got arrested, didn't he? For the $20 bill thing. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Let's go.
Okay,
let's see how they like this little race swap.
Money off depressed people.
Oh, hey, Mike the Bike. Thanks for the $2. Now we're talking. Let's see what the wokes think about this, shall we? Hey? Ryan Gosling has the pass. And Derek Chauvin played by Tom Holland for some reason. Oh. Anyway.